Welcome to the Bible Podcast 101. I'm Tommy.
It's Nick.
And we're back. We're glad to have you here. As you can see, I'm wearing my sad 49ers shirt because they are terrible this year and just lost on Sunday.
Not as bad as the Jets.
So yeah, we're here today to discuss some important things. Right now, we have an election coming up, and that is very important to obviously the welfare of our country, but we want to keep in mind, and we want to reiterate this, that obviously God is what's most important, Jesus is what's most important, but today we just want to talk a little bit about the current affairs of our country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're two young people, we're young professionals. I'm 31, Tommy is
26.
And yeah, I think it's cool that we have this platform and we're young, and I think we're both just like voting for the first time or second time and still getting our own perspectives and ideas. But yeah, because we have this Christian Bible podcast, I think, and as we grow a little bit more and people are saying that this election is pretty important, I think it's cool that we can put something out there, but even so, look back and see what we thought at this time. But yeah, I got ballots in the mail today. So the time is coming. And I think it's just cool to think that, yeah, we have an open platform and open conversation. We didn't plan our talk right now about this. But I think it's just cool to have a genuine reaction, and maybe young people like us in the same shoes as us can just organize their thoughts and just think like, what does so-and-so mean economics or this or that topic? But yeah, any first thoughts?
I was kind of doing this thinking just now as you were talking kind of, and one of the first passages that comes into my mind, and I don't remember exactly what it is, you might be able to figure this out for me, but it's where Jesus says something like, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to me what is mine. I think that could be a big theme for today. Essentially, no matter what happens in this election, like I just said, at the end of the day, Jesus is still in charge, and we need to give to Jesus what is Jesus's, and we need to give to our government, essentially what belongs to our government. And honestly, just whoever wins at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world the next day. Your life is still going to go on,
right? And
you have to still live your life. You can't just stop living your life, essentially.
Yeah, with the Caesar, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So yeah, in that time period, Jesus was just a man doing his ministry, and then you have this empire, Rome, and this imperial emperor system with Caesar. But yeah, whatever happens, you still honor the setting you're in, but you still focus on what you can do for God and how you react to things, how you love your neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote that down. It was Matthew 22:17.
Oh, so you already wrote that one down?
Yeah, that reference.
That was not planned.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, whatever happens, we know that there's trouble in this world. There's going to be good rulers, bad rulers, good kings, bad kings. But yeah, I think we need to still have our own character, our own faith. And then this voting system, like, we still have a say into where we want to, in a sense, steer the country and put things in value. But if it doesn't happen, then we still know who our true king is.
And that's honestly a blessing to be able to have that ability, because there's a lot of countries out there in the world that don't get that opportunity. So one of my biggest things is it frustrates me when people complain, because it's like, we at least have the opportunity to do that. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. So at the end of the day, it's a blessing from God to be able to vote and have the freedom in this country that we have to make some decisions. And we should remember that. And the flip side of that is, if you're complaining and you're not voting, then this should be a wake-up call for you to at least vote. And instead of saying, my vote doesn't matter because this is where I live and this is the political climate here, it doesn't matter. You should use your opportunity to have your voice heard, whichever way you decide to go. But at the end of the day, it's a blessing from God to be able to vote and have some sort of decision-making power in our country.
Yes. Yeah, and overall religious freedom that we can practice. Anyone can practice.
Anybody can practice any religion here.
Yes. But yeah, so I have some topics, or just I think it's cool that we're just too like, even as we approach the Bible, we just want to seek the truth and just have genuine thoughts and original thought.
Right.
Nothing that's swayed here or there. So even with politics and perspective, we come here as like, we say Bible Podcast 101, just a 101 view of approaching the Bible. But even here, I think we just come back to basics and just approach this election just thinking what's rational and what makes sense. I'll just set the setting. So as we have Trump, who was ex-president 2016 to 2020. Then you have this Biden administration with Harris as vice president for 4 years, 2020 to present. Just logically, we know that the past 4 years is part of an administration. She's part of it. We know, if you're up to date with what's going on, Biden was stepped down as a nominee because of his mental health. But I think for the whole 4 years, at least for me, like if you look on YouTube, his cognition isn't there, even from the early points of his election and his presidency. So it just seems like even for the past 4 years, it's always been like some sort of like someone in the background puppeteering the situation. And we think about today, we think about topics like inflation and economy and border defense. And I just feel like it's just rationale that we got to this place because of this current administration. And you think there's, president, vice president that are 1 and 2. We know number 1 has mental impairments. And then now you have a new candidate, the vice president of this current regime. And then you have Trump and this other 4 years. So to me, it just doesn't make sense that if you think all these big topics are concerning and you want change, like why isn't that change being done already under the current system? Like what new ideas really are being brought up? And then at least for me, I think of 2016 to 2020 before COVID. I feel like those were like our best years, I don't know, financially or just living. Like nothing was really too crazy. I think his tax laws and the way we pay taxes in those years, those tax breaks were helpful. But I just want to start with that. Like, just it doesn't have to be like specific points, but it just seems like the rationale that administration, and then you have Trump's administration, and you just think about the security of it, the two, like the border security or national security with wars, or even just think about inflation numbers from before and after. So without getting like individualized with like personal attacks to either character, it's just the ideas of like the two different eras. And like, do you really believe there's change with this current era and this vice president of this current era, or do you prefer what was before? And like, he says what he says, and he has plans. What do you think about that?
That's pretty much what I would say. It's like you either want things to change or you really don't. And when I say that is maybe you were happy with the past 4 years. And if that's the case, then you probably already know who you want to vote for. And maybe you want change. But the one thing I will say, and I've seen this a lot, is like the complaining about these are our two best options. Well, it's like, well, these are the two options. And so you can complain about it all you want, but nothing's going to change. So complaining isn't helping. And at the end of the day, you got to make a decision. And that's what I kind of have to say about that is there's been a lot of complaining like, oh, these are our two best options from some people. And it's like, well, I mean, these are the two options we have. So if you wanted a different option, then maybe you should have ran for president yourself,
right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes you got to roll with, the punches or the things that take place. But like I keep reiterating and refraining back to is, at the end of the day, if God's in control, then it really doesn't matter. I mean, it has some effect, on which way you go. But if God's in control, that's all you can ask for. So
yeah. I think another broad perspective is, how does this influence me in my life? And
especially like daily life.
Yeah.
Because like how, and I don't mean to cut you off, but a good point is like, how is this going to affect your daily life? And that goes back to when I said, whoever gets elected, you still have to keep living. So what I've noticed over the course of my life, my shortish life, 26 years, is every time there was an election, somebody was always upset the next day, and somebody acted like their life was over the next day. But in reality, I'm still here at 26. Like, sure, certain times might be harder than others depending on like certain topics he's talked about, like whether inflation is up or down, whether the stock market's doing good or not, whether the price of milk is like $4 a gallon or $8 a gallon, whatever it may be, right? There are certain times that are more challenging than others, but it almost seems like it always swings back around, and life is like a bunch of rolling hills. Like, you're gonna have highs, lows, ups, downs, but it usually, I feel like over time, averages out with like good times and bad times. So at the end of the day, you gotta keep living your life. It might be a season, it might be a challenging 4-year season for you, or it might be a challenging or not challenging 4-year season for you. It's just, I don't know. It's gonna be your life, so I can't tell you if it's gonna be challenging or not.
I think in general, life is challenging regardless. Right. Yeah. So,
you have different seasons. And,
But yeah, I think the perspective is like, how does this affect me, and what do how do these policies affect me? I think as a country, the idea of border security. So we have like this Mexico border problem, I guess. Not that I'm actively searching the numbers, but I think there's a lot more during this current era than Trump's era when he had the wall. And but anyway, there's that border, and then you have these like wars looming. We have Russia attacking Ukraine. We have Israel, Palestine, that conflict that rose up during this era, this Biden administration. You think of like before when Trump said like, "Oh, I'm the law and order candidate," and I think before that things were kind of in order. I feel like now you kind of see little trends of like possibly with COVID defunding police or going against police brutality. But I think in a sense, as a nation, we do need to feel like we're safe as a people. Otherwise, we're just prone to just attacks, and I think that's concerning, that if you don't feel safe in your own country and you can't like mentally feel safe and like live your daily life, then that could be an issue. This idea with inflation that there's not enough, I guess, U.S. money to like benefit everyone in a sense, and that the country prints money more and more, and then the economics are ruined because of it. The border thing is, some people are saying that with all these illegal people coming in and they're like trying to get welfare, and the government's assisting these people into just living in our country, illegally. Some people are flagging that as a problem. So yeah, I just feel like, you think about what's affecting me. I think, your grocery prices are affected, like the cost of living. And then I feel like, the national security, like if this trend keeps going, then how does my safety get affected? Because, we're on California border, there's Mexico below us, we're not right on the border, but at least if I lived down there, like I'd be somewhat concerned, like who are these people that are crossing the border? People say they're dangerous, they're cartels down there, but I feel like if you think there's a problem and you see the before and after of two eras, like me personally, naturally you would think, okay, if it was safer in that era, that's important, and at least we see the two evidences of the two eras. So if you want change and you see how it was safer before than now, then I would think you would want what was before. If you saw that the economics were better, the tax cuts were better before, then I think if you think the current regime, like inflation's getting worse, and you don't think that it'll change, then I think the before was better. So I think they're just little things, but overall, with being a Bible podcast and faith-wise, anyone could be in position. And during Jesus' time, there was King Herod, and he was trying to kill Jesus as a baby and get after him. There's going to be trouble and conflicts either way. Yeah,
and it didn't work out for Herod, so that just goes to show you that it ends up working out in the end. I guess all I have to say about all that stuff is kind of like what Nick was saying. You just got to decide what translates to your life best. And then on top of that, like with security and things like that, one of like the misconceptions down about at the border is people, because it's Mexico, they're like, oh, like just a bunch of Mexican immigrants are coming into the country, which is false. I have a friend who used to work Border Patrol, and I've watched a couple shows with like Border Patrol agents coming onto these shows, and they're basically saying like most of the people that are coming over are like potentially from like the Middle East, or they're like have Chinese heritage or culture. And so a common misconception is, closing the border, people are thinking, oh, you're like just excluding like maybe Mexican or Latin American immigrants. It's like, no, you're closing it down because then these other countries from across the world think they can just have people come in, and we don't really know who these people are. Maybe they are a simple family, or what if they work for like the Chinese government, or the Iraqi government, or you don't know, like potentially enemies that would like to see America like destroyed. You don't know who's coming in. I'm not saying that's exactly who's coming in or anything, but when you have it opened up like that, then the chances of that happening obviously increase when it's not. So that's something that at least I've heard from different talk shows and people talking about. That's like a common misconception down at the border. So just to elaborate more on that, and just with one of my friends being a former Border Patrol guy, I'm sure it's a lot different being down there and seeing that firsthand versus like just talking about it, in a room. And like Nick said, who knows, maybe some of those people are cartel members or whatnot, right? So we don't know for sure exactly by numbers who's coming in and who's not, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think about California in general and like kind of the political state here. You think of like San Francisco and crime there and how it's kind of uncontrolled. I just feel like, if you as a nation and you as a people, as an individual, trying to be safe in your home and your community, I feel like if you don't prioritize that, then you're just like prone to chaos in a way. I just feel like the trends of some ideologies and, they say like the two sides, liberalism and like conservatism, like you're trying to conserve values and conserve, I don't know, like a traditional structure, a traditional law and order, police force, government style. I don't know. I just feel like it'll be okay because God's in control. But if you're worried about these problems and these issues, and if your daily life is affected by ABC, the economics, inflation, I can't buy a house, I don't know, I don't feel safe in whatever these war talks. I think just logically, whatever is current, something seems not to be working, and it's unfortunate because we only have like 2 months of who this character is in Harris and what she can bring to the table. It just seems very fast, and to me it just feels like there's still like some sort of just puppeteering and just putting someone in front and then just having this.
What would be great is if everybody stopped just labeling themselves either like a liberal or conservative and started to realize you could be like potentially fiscally conservative and socially liberal, or socially conservative and fiscally liberal, whatever that may be. Like you could be a mixture, and instead of just voting because one represents blue or one represents red, you find out what ideals are most important to you in your daily life, whether that's more fiscal ideas or social ideals, and then you decide who aligns with those ideals the best of the two candidates for you, and then you vote that way. And I think then we would start to see potentially the person that people actually want to be in the presidency, actually in the presidency, instead of this like it's us versus them, red versus blue, blue versus red. And then you might be able to see more unity across the board in our country if we actually voted the way everybody wants their problem solved. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that do, but I've also heard plenty of people say, well, I hate this person, so I definitely can't vote for them. So it's kind of like, and that's on both sides. That's not just one side. But it's like, okay, just because you hate somebody for what they say or what they do, like you're not actually looking at what their body of work actually is.
Right.
That is the last thing Jesus does for us in our lives. He never... He looks at our body of work, he looks at our heart, and then that's how he makes his decision and his relationships with us. And I think we need to relate it back to God, because if God just said, you know what, I really don't like the way Nick and Tommy look, or I don't like their personality or whatever, then honestly the Christianity would cease to exist, because that's not the basis of Christianity. The basis of Christianity is looking at the body of work of that person, looking at their heart, looking at their intentions, and then having that relationship with them. So if we did that, this, I can tell you right now, America would be 10 times better.
True. Yeah, I think what you're inching at is, I think a lot of people can point fingers at Trump's words or his history of actions as an individual in the past. But yeah, if you look towards a president, we want to see someone lead the country in their policies and what they bring to the country. But yeah, like you said, that with God and with us, we don't really micro pick at like the sins of the past, but if anything, you look towards the future and what's ahead. But yeah, I think he's a character for sure, and he'll speak his mind.
I'd say it's even both sides, because there's plenty of people on both sides that will just say, well, I hate this person, so I'm not voting for them. I'm like, okay, let's have a better adult conversation about it. Like, tell me why you don't want to vote for them. Because what I've noticed a pattern of is then they don't know a single thing about what that person stands for or what their actual goals are. And it's like, well, why don't you read about it and then come back to me and tell me, well, this is why. Because then I'm like, okay, that's totally fair. You don't want to vote for this person because they have this goal of doing this with our country. That's not the direction you want to go. But when you just say, I hate that guy or that gal, like they're so stupid, like how could anybody vote for them? That's not helping the unity of the country at all. And it's very un-Christian-like to do. So I wish we get back to just, I'm not voting for them because I hate them. I'm not voting for them because of X, Y, and Z, and they don't align with my morals or my beliefs. Cool. Sounds good. I can respect that. It might not be my first choice who you're voting for, but like I can at least respect you have a purpose of why you're voting one way.
Yeah, an informed choice.
Yes. Yeah. That's all I care about.
There's one passage, we can bring this back to, and kind of just wrap up this talk. It's 1 Peter 2:11, talking about authority. Chapter 2, verses 11 through 17. Subtitle for this says, Living Godly Lives in a Pagan Society. This is this is 1 Peter from Peter. 11. Dear friends, I urge you as foreigners and exiles to abstain from sinful desires which wage war against your soul. Live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he visits us. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor as the supreme authority or to governors who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people, live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. Yeah, so those last three, respect everyone, love the family of believers, fear God. He's still, whatever happens politically or in this human society, we believe he's an everlasting, eternal God. Before the USA was a government, he was reigning, he had a plan. So respect everyone, his family of believers, fear God, honor the emperor. So just give honor to whoever is that God, I guess, he wills people to be in charge. So if it was Caesar in the past, just whatever system is put into place, just respect it, honor, give to Caesar what is Caesar, whatever tax orders are in place. But that's okay because we know that ultimately, God reigns. He's our true king. He has a better plan for us in the future. And yeah, this temporary earthly life, is just temporary, and that we have an eternal kingdom to look forward to and a perfect king to look forward to.
Yeah. And just going off that, because I was flipping over there, another good verse is from 1 Peter 1. It's verses, looks like 6 through maybe 8. But basically he says, so be truly glad. There is a wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fires tests and purifies gold though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise and glory to God, glory and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world. So kind of going back to that whole, don't let this election ruin your next 4 years. Whoever ends up being elected. Yeah. Just if it's not your first choice, don't let it ruin your next 4 years. Use your next 4 years to be Christ-like, be positive.
Yes. Yeah.
Help others, because that's how we'll get united back as a country. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter who's the figurehead or whatever. What matters is the actual people as a whole. If the people in all the states are united and as one, then we're a strong country. Like if you look back at 9/11, unfortunately, some tragic events happened, but we came together, united as a country. It had nothing to do with who was in power at that time. We just all cared about the well-being and sake of each other. People all the way from California cared about people back in New York, right? 3,000 miles away. So if we can get back to that, we'll be a strong country again.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, this is still our open platform. We're kind of just running long, but any last thoughts? I'm sure there's a lot of topics that could be a friction and cancel worthy, but it's not like we're big enough that we could be canceled. So I don't know, anything else left to say? Any topics you want to bring up? Or
I don't have any. Just remain positive. That's my biggest takeaway and lesson is just be positive. Don't let something like this affect your daily life.
And like Tommy said, you have your circle of influence, the people who are in front of you, your family, friends, your workplace. I think as believers we're just called to be a light and be witnesses in whatever state this life brings us, whether the political culture or whatever troubles in this world, that we still have a firm foundation and a trust in God that he has good plans ahead. Very good. Hope that helped, guys. Hope that was interesting. But feel free to, this is only 101. This is just basic rationale or just comparing some sides. Feel free to, there's more information online on the two candidates, and that can give you some more information on what's the better choice or decision. A little bit about me. I'm going to New York in 3 weeks, so I'll be there during election time. But yeah, it was on my heart to. If this is a big thing, like we might as well. We have some sort of audience and platform. We might as well, put some sort of content out before I leave, because we might not release something in another 3 weeks, month or so. But yeah, we wish well on our community, our country, and whatever happens.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. And like always, if you enjoyed it or got something out of it, please just share it with a friend or family member.
Yeah, we have our YouTube platform for these full videos. We're also on Instagram, BiblePodcast101. And then if you've been following us, we have our little church movement initiative. We have 2 episodes out on it. But hopefully more to come. Yeah, we just had our 3rd meeting for that, and it was pretty cool. Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you later.